So this is my wish for all of you and for all beings. May we shine like stars in the night sky, luminous like the full moon on a cold, clear winter night, such as tonight, radiant like the warm morning sun that follows. In this way, may we sit, silent, awake, quiescent. May your heart reflect both moon and sun, calm, clear, and as bright as fresh snow. May its luminosity reveal the path through the darkness, present, awake, and brilliant as purest gold. May its radiance open the way to freedom. In this way, may we sit, silent and awake. In this way, may we remain. Om Namami Sharanam Bhumim. Om Namami Sharanam Bhumim. Om Namami Sharanam Bhumim. That last chant is a chant I co-wrote with a dear friend, a Sri Lankan Buddhist monk, which means I bow to the ground of this refuge and lift this up into the celestial realm. So it's a recognition of being located in the wishes of the blessing itself, and then allowing that, lifting that up, almost like Amen or Zoha in Buddhism. Same kind of meaning. I'm also going to read to you a passage from my dear friend that many of you here on the call have some knowledge of, Martin Lowenthal, who is a wonderful teacher and mentor at the Dedicated Life Institute. And he wrote a book called The Dawning of Clear Light. Dawning of Clear Light. This book, interestingly, is a book on dark retreat. And I don't know how many of you have heard of dark retreat, but in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, this is a basic kind of practice that people will do. They will actually do an unbroken length of time. The minimum is 4 days. Some people do it for much longer. And Marty is kind of known to be a specialist in dark retreat and wrote this book called Dawning of Clear Light about dark retreat. And I personally have not done a dark retreat. I prefer retreating in the light, the bright sunlight. But what's interesting is that there is a precedent for this. There is an important kind of dimension to practicing without light. And when I do my solitary retreats, often in the evenings, I only have candlelight. I don't practice in light. So in a way, what arises in that space of darkness is all kinds of interesting things, both things that arise from within the depths of the unconscious, as well as marvelous kinds of visions that can come, lights, things like that. The more that you sit without the disruption of light, if you will, on the visual sense, and the more the eyes soften, the more open we are to having experiences that we might call visual experiences or projections of mind, as well as possibly seeing things in the dark that we otherwise would not notice. And what I mean by that are shapes, lights, they may be projections through our visual faculty. In the Native American tradition, there is something called the Yuwipi ceremony. Yuwipi, I believe it's where they are in complete darkness. And the medicine man or woman will do a dance, and in that dance, they will generate all of this energy. Sometimes there are spirits that are called in, and you will see lights. People who have witnessed this report seeing lights sort of flashing back and forth in the tent. Usually it happens either in a dark tent I imagine in the past in teepees, but there is this kind of flashing of lights that kind of go racing, almost like you're looking at UFOs in the sky, but they're inside the space that you're inhabiting. So, um, and I have actually experienced not the UWIPI ceremony, but I have experienced kind of like doing open eye meditation in the dark and witnessing energy in the room that I otherwise haven't seen. So it's an interesting experience. And Marty, who's a master at Dark Retreat, in this book, writes passages. He kept a journal. And this is one of the other things you do in the dark. I can only imagine what the pages look like. Trying to write in the pitch darkness. Um, but according to Marty, apparently it's something that works itself out. You actually can make out what you wrote, and you kind of get used to working without the visual field. So this is a passage from Dawning of Clear Light. I'd like to read to you, and kind of in keeping with tonight's theme is this theme of light and dark. This theme that we will explore more in 2 weeks when we're in January. Usually that's the period where I love, one of the things I really enjoy doing is talking about the hush of winter and what the Native Americans call the hunger season, where there is the least amount of activity in the natural world, and that we as human beings are part of that. We don't always know it because we're too busy rushing all over the place trying to live our lives like we do when the weather is good. Um, and yet we can mirror, if we can remirror the natural world, we probably would reshape our society around a much more kind of natural way of living that takes into account what the natural world is doing, such as hibernation, cultivating during short days, cultivating luminosity, the inner light, the potential vitality that we're storing up for when the weather gets better, that kind of thing. So we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks, which is I really enjoy. I look forward to that all year, actually. That's how much I enjoy it. As a California boy who moved here from Santa Barbara and had to adjust to the winters. um, so anyway, this theme of light and dark. This is called Radiant Heart of Darkness by Martin Lowenthal. In this dark space, thoughts, feelings, and plans have boundless room and no place. So I gaze into blank blackness, praising memories of light and sky, and settling into this unknown darkness. With gratitude for the pulsing in palms and cool breeze of inhaling breath, I sit poised on the edge of tears, bliss, and I know not what. Looking into endless, embracing dark, in this still moment, are these bright lights and inaudible sounds, plays of fancy, or the true nature of a freshly opened heart? And yes, it does end in a question mark. So one more from his book. This one is called Sitting in the Dark. Sitting on a firm cushion, thoughts come and go. Mind remains. Feelings arrive insistently and exit reluctantly. Heart remains. Inner lights and colors arise, pass through and disappear. Darkness remains. I goes. Am remains.